LGBT movement's failing? Oh, God.
Some carry hate. We carry the largest trans pride flag to ever be flown in a national park and unfurled it on the side of El Cap to prove a point, that trans is natural.
Please, tell me what's natural about having to wear a wig and tons of eye makeup to try and get people to treat you like a woman.
The Trump administration and transphobes would love to have you believe that being trans is unnatural, but species that can transition sexes can be found on every continent and in every ocean on planet Earth.
That had to be the most disingenuous analogy that I've ever heard. Show me a human male that's become female spontaneously without spending like $100,000 in the operating room. Well,
Jesus Christ.
even the surgeries don't change their biology. And just because certain animals can do things doesn't mean that humans can do those things. Some animals aren't sexually dimorphic, and the females are just as strong as the males.
It's actually quite in times the opposite, where the females are larger in size than the males. Here in America, that's also the case, but in most normal countries, it's not.
Humans, though, there are a lot of differences between the sexes.
Spiders,
I mean, I don't think I've seen an analogy this bad since the croissant analogy.
If trans women aren't women, then is this big croissant not a croissant? Of course it's a croissant. It's made out of butter and dough just like any other croissant.
Right, a big croissant.
So it's made out of butter and dough, but what if somebody's made out of certain chromosomes? I feel like this is an argument that defeats itself. Like, how do you do you never even think, like, what?
Croissant and a small croissant are still both croissants. Except that's not what's happening here. You're not a big croissant saying that you're a small one. You're a taco saying, I identify as a pastry.
So before I demolish this delicious and very valid pastry, repeat after me. Big croissants don't affect me in the slightest.
Yeah, that's not the case. In fact, that's exactly everyone's problem and why people have so much energy against trans activism. We were all just out here minding our own business, and then a bunch of activists started inserting themselves into everything and saying, you have to treat us how we demand you treat us, or you lose your job. This sort of extortionist behavior is why people are mad at the LGBT crowd, and everyone hates stuff like this. From Today USA, women want to be her, men want to be with her. Dylan Mulvaney, the true definition of beauty and grace. Bro, Dylan Mulvaney doesn't even want to be Dylan Mulvaney. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of trans people out there who just...
Why would you say that? It's so weird. Why would you even do that?
Want to mind their own business and go on with their lives. In fact, the right to be able to mind their own business was originally what the LGBT movement was pushing for.
Yeah.
And I think that's an idea that most Americans these days would have no problem supporting.
They do. It's not that they don't have a problem supporting it. They already do support it. They're fine with it.
However, the activists, not the normie LGBT people, I'm specifically talking about the activist part of this community, constantly display the most self-centered and entitled behavior. And it's not transphobic or bigoted to point out when someone's being a self-absorbed asshole. Let's go back to...
Fucking exactly. Who is this guy? Who is this? Fucking finally. Yes, true.
That image. Women want to be her. Yeah, except for all the women who were pissed off at Dylan's woman face behavior. In fact, people were so mad at Dylan that Anheuser-Busch almost had to give up the Bud Light brand.
Jesus.
Men want to be with her.
$400 million?
No, they don't. Straight men don't. The second they find out you're trans, you're gonna get ghosted.
This video is for straight men and straight men only. I'm sorry, but how in the world could you not like me? Yes, I'm a trans woman.
You're using a filter. I can tell you're using a filter.
Like, what is so different about dating me than a cis woman?
The fact that you have a penis. That's the difference. And people don't want that. It's pretty simple. It's the same reason why, you know, like a guy'd want to date a girl with big boobs or something. It's a sexual preference. It's really just that simple. It's really not that, like, I mean, I don't even know, like, what like it. Yeah, I mean, I don't even get this.
I can do everything that she can.
Except have children. Did you notice the narcissistic, I'm so great behavior? That's why people don't like you. The guy I was on a date with just found out that I was trans. Why is he just finding out on the date? Why wasn't this disclosed on the dating app? I mean, they were definitely using a dating app.
Oh, man, I love this guy. Oh, my God. I've never seen anything. I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to subscribe right now. This is, oh, my God. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I got to pull this up because I said this the other day. I said this, like, this is thing, right? And so, like, if I pull this up, this is what I said about Creator Clash. I said, as a general rule, if providing someone with certain information would make them less likely to make a purchase or make a decision, withholding that information is unethical. Also, the absence of information is the same as a lie because in both cases, the intent is malicious. And that's what it is. These are people that are actively trying to deceive you, and then they guilt you into being angry for being deceived. The intent is to deceive. You are participating in a malicious action.
Photos can be edited and the voice chat wasn't used. Why is it so hard to date straight men when you're just a normal trans girl who makes content for the internet? Well, there you go. Stop catfishing people and maybe you'll find someone who
Stop catfishing people. Exactly. Yes. It's like if I was a girl and I dated a guy, I was going out on a date with a guy and he said he was 6'5" and he was actually 6'1", I would probably not want to date him. That would be a really big red flag because he's a liar. Why would you lie about that? Yeah, you're just lying. I mean, at the end of the day, you're lying. Like, what are you doing?
Actually likes you. I mean, it's crazy how many trans people think it's perfectly fine to start a relationship out by lying by omission.
What are you even really disclosing? What is there to disclose? There's no deception. When you're dating someone, you don't have to disclose every single thing about yourself up front. That's the fun of it. You get to learn.
Well, there are certain things that you do disclose, right? That it's like kind of it makes sense that you disclose. Like, for example, people should disclose whether they're in a relationship currently, whether they've had kids before, whether they have STDs. Let me think. Besides that, there's maybe a couple of other things too. Their age. Yeah, their age. They should disclose their age. And so there's a lot of examples of these things. And it's like it's again, these are people that try to like reinvent the rules for life because the rules are not in their favor or they're not working out in their favor. But the world isn't going to reinvent itself because you want to. That's not the way the world works. It's never how
someone new.
Considering that the status of your sexuality is a big deal for a relationship, that definitely should be disclosed before you even go on a date. Though in this case, I actually wouldn't worry because I don't think anyone's being fooled by you.
He shows off his results of facial feminization surgery. What is your reaction? Again, just reading the tweets. Don't get mad at me. Let's take a look at this. Bro, I'm going to keep it a buck. You got to go back and ask for a refund. Like, this was not a complete job. This is just incomplete homework.
Though, to be honest, some trans people are more feminine than others, and it's harder for normies to tell. So in the case where someone is intentionally tricked and any form of sexual contact happens that they would otherwise not consent to, I think...
Fucking exactly. Listen to this again.
Trans people are more feminine than others, and it's harder for normies to tell. So in the case where someone is intentionally tricked and any form of sexual contact happens...
Tricking people into sexual contact. Good or bad? Ah, jeez, guys. Ooh, that's a tough one.
That they would otherwise not consent to.
Yep.
I think that should be considered sexual assault. These people are all about consent, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can't consent if you don't understand the terms of the deal. And
it's so disappointing that people... I've noticed this a lot, is that I think that people fully understand consent and they actively ignore it when it's inconvenient for themselves. I think that every guy and every woman, trans or not, understands exactly what's going on here, and they're just ignoring it because they can.
trying to trick someone into consenting to something they otherwise would not consent to if they had full knowledge of the terms, then that is very much the mentality of a rapist. You aren't fooling anyone. Everyone knows that you aren't disclosing this information right away for a reason. And really, the best way to continue to take power away from these people so they can't threaten us anymore is to just start calling stuff what it is.
He's completely right about this too. I totally agree with him. I think the best way to do this is to just be direct, honest, and upfront about it, rather than try to use euphemisms and platitudes and say that these people are actively sexually they're basically active sexual predators. If you are not disclosing you being trans because you think that somebody will make a decision based on that, you are preying on them sexually. That is what you are doing. That does not mean that all trans people are sexual predators, but if you are actively not disclosing that to somebody because you're worried they're going to tell you no, you are taking advantage of them, and that's manipulation. Should never happen. It's disgusting. It's disgusting behavior. Deceit is the issue? Yes, it's deceit. The behavior is predatory? Yes, it is. It's predatory behavior because you're trying to convince a person to do something that they would not normally do. It is beneficial for you.
Bullying that trans activists have been doing can completely be defeated if we just stick to reality.
True.
Which brings us to a trans TikTok influencer who goes by Lily Tino. Well, this person has already been brought up, but now I have a bigger point to make. If you haven't seen any of the content, this type of stuff is what Tino is famous for.
The bottom is from Thailand?
Coconut bread from Thailand.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. Sorry, my bad. And
Did I just hear that right?
Thailand.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. Sorry, my bad.
I thought I did. Oh my God.
And the middle one is from India.
Thank you. It just like totally sucks the joy out of this bread tower. Makes me want to immediately like leave because I no longer feel like safe here. It's like, oh, my guard now has to be up. I'm not going to enjoy this bread as much because my guard is up. We should be able to go places.
Thanks for 5 subs. I appreciate it.
And not have to worry. I don't think I really want this bread tower, actually. I think I'd rather have it checked.
Did anyone catch what went wrong here? I actually had to watch this multiple times, so let's do a quick repeat.
Coconut bread from Thailand.
I think the big issue that a lot of people have with this is the fact that a lot of people, like this waiter, is just trying to do their best. They're not really, I mean, this is like, the issue is like this constant fixation on taking what these interactions are and then interpreting them in the worst possible way and then treating people as if that interpretation is what their intent was. And I think that's exhausting. It's very exhausting.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. Sorry, my bad.
So Tino is mad because the waiter said sir. Well, it's kind of hard to call you a ma'am when you look like a sir, and Tino knows that people will make this mistake, which is why tons of misgendering videos are on Tino's channel.
I just want to tell you that the person who gave me this called me sir.
What?
Called me sir.
Oh.
Oh my God. Holy fuck, man. Just stop. Stop trying to make this like these people are just trying to do their job. They're waiters. These are like fast food employees, and you're trying to lecture them about this stuff and get like what, free food or something? This is so weird. Like, in my opinion, there is no content that's lower than the intentional harassment or haranguing of service workers. I find this to be like the lowest form of content. And it's actually one of the reasons why I don't go out in public and do live streams in public, because I know that like if I go to a Wendy's, for example, this is what happened. I went to a Wendy's, people found out the Wendy's I was at, and they started calling the store. And I'm like, okay, this is some woman who's working here, and her life is fucking awful. She's working at Wendy's. She's like 40 years old, probably has 3 kids, and she's getting phone calls, and they're asking, is Baldy there? Like, it's outrageous. Like, it's so outrageous, and it's so disrespectful. And I know it's not even my fault, but I'm still the causal factor that is making that's making these things occur, right? And it's fun. It is funny, but the problem is that it's funny the first time and they get 50 calls. That's the issue. I think if it was just one time, they'd be like, haha, yeah, it's funny. And then maybe I'll give them like $20, right? It's like, sorry about the inconvenience, right? But like that's it. And it's people can never get over this.
It's just like, it kind of just hurts a lot to get called sir.
You trying to get free food?
I'm not sir.
Nothing like a good misgendering. It is a knife in the gut when I get called sir. It hurts more though, and it's not intentional, because it means like this is sir to him.
Yeah, it's such.
Yeah, people are gonna think that. I mean, like that's not. I mean, like that's not that they don't hate you. That's just they're gonna make their best guess.
A knife to the gut that you keep intentionally putting yourself in these situations and film them happening over and over again.
Exactly, yeah. I'm such a fucking victim. I can't. Oh my God, guys! How is this happening to me? How does this keep happening? I keep cutting myself. Why are they making me do this? Stop it.
Again, even with the feigned politeness, everyone knows that you're doing this on purpose. And not just that, but Tino has openly talked about not actually caring about being called sir.
What?
Look, I don't need your approval to love my face. But honestly, keep these comments coming, because they really don't bother me in the way that you think they bother me, and they boost engagement on my stuff, so keep at it.
A bunch of people saying sir.
So we have the mask off moment where it's actually not even, it's not even about this cause. It's about me cosplaying as one of the people that's part of this cause, making everybody else that's just trying to live their life privately and politely look like idiots. And I'm doing all this for internet attention, and you're boosting me in the algorithm, and that's the real. So this is all. So basically, you're cosplaying a trans person, trying to make them look bad, intentionally soliciting negative interactions. And who is this helping? Oh, that's right, you. And that's it. Certainly not trans people.
In the comments
Makes
is what's
them look
being
like
responded
assholes.
to. So now we know that Tino bullying people is completely about getting attention. But let's go back to that bread video for a second.
We're supposed to say friend or just not use gendered language. It's like a pretty big thing that Disney has done. Nothing was wrong with bread. I just don't want it anymore. Just because they apologize doesn't mean she doesn't feel sad or offended. Yeah. Exactly, right? Like, if you've accidentally ever hurt someone and say, I'm so sorry, it was an accident, do you expect them to be like, oh, it was an accident? Of course, no problem whatsoever. All of that hurt is now undone. That's not
Well, part of it, yeah, actually. Yeah, because, like, the thing is that if somebody can't accept an apology, there's no reason to give them one. Like, why would anybody try to apologize to you and reason with you if you don't even want to be reasoned with, and an apology will just make you more mad? The intention, yeah, and the intention wasn't to hurt you. Like, absolutely that matters. I've had people that have done things that was negative to me, and then they apologize for it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I'm still, like, you can see why I was annoyed, but, like, yeah, I get it. Okay, sure.
Sorry about what happened.
It's okay. I would love to pay for the drink, please.
No, the drink is on me too, so...
You don't have... Are you sure?
Here we go. It's a Karen. It's an actual fucking Karen. Yep. Actual Karen. Look at the stance and everything about it.
You're good, yeah.
Okay. Thank you
This
very
is
much.
totally
Now
Karen
you can see
behavior.
why Tino does this.
Yep.
Any narcissist would treat waiters like that if they got free food and special treatment from
Exactly.
it. You do understand they had to throw all that food out, right?
Yep.
However, I don't know if you guys caught this, but the waiter had an accent, meaning that English is not his first language, so he probably is not all that privy to the pronoun BS because it's esoteric speech. I mean, if there's any indication that he doesn't understand what's going on, it's that he immediately says sir again after being told to say ma'am. And the whole subtext of this is that this guy spends all this time learning English, and then Tino is out here threatening his livelihood over a minor mistake. That's why you got the free drink. It's because he's afraid of a sociopath.
That's another really good point. I'm glad he brought this up, because this is the other component to it that I think is also like really selfish, is that when you make videos like this and you put people on blast like this, you put their jobs at risk too. So you're taking a person who's ESL, or maybe not really completely like fully understanding of like your, you know, like your gender ideology, and you're putting their job at risk by bullying their manager or talking about this company or like this restaurant in a bad way. It's scumbag shit. Yeah, it is. He said sorry.
Path like you causing a scene and getting him fired, especially considering that this occurred at Disneyland. So you know that if the waiter stands up for himself, the company is not going to back him. So really, this person is just making money off of bullying foreigners and using transgenderism as a shield after.
Oh, man.
Being abusive, because that's what this is. It's abuse. And abuse seems to be kind of a foundational strategy of trans activists. Tino has a lot of this type of content, as well as stuff that progressively gets creepier.
Made it into Disney World. I don't really know what the deal is with bathrooms. You know, Florida is really conservative. I don't know what the rules are. Trans women are allowed to be in women's bathrooms, but I'm about to go and use the bathroom because I have.
You're on your phone. You could just look it up on your phone right now. You could look it up. You would find out this information within 3 seconds. But you don't care about the truth. You want to create a scene. You're trying to make a scene at Disney World. Oh boy, this is just what all the kids want to see. Someone coming to make a scene about their complex gender ideology in front of a bunch of 7-year-olds. That's great.
To tinkle. If I get stopped, I get stopped, I guess. But I'm a woman, so I'm going to use the women's bathroom, and being in Florida or being in California or wherever isn't going to stop.
Okay.
For one, it's already cringe to be a Disney adult. Two, not only is there this fetishizing with trans people of lying about their status in the hopes of tricking straight men, but there's also a fetishizing of using women's bathrooms. Here's a whole office of biological males filming in the women's bathroom. And I can't imagine how unnerving it must be for women to have to share this space with people who are obviously biological men.
Oh, I go where I please. I will continue to go into women's restrooms, women's locker.
Oh my God.
Filming in the women's bathroom. And I can't imagine how unnerving it must be for women.
I want to give an apology to a lot of you guys that, you know, some of you guys Arabs, maybe, Indian, South American, Hispanic somehow, Asian. I don't know why all of us white people keep doing this shit. Like we can't have any of those white people rallies anymore. Like that never turns out very good, right? So we can never come together and talk about this. But like, I don't know why we do this shit. It's this is not me, okay? Like this is not me. White guilt from this? Yeah, this is, see, you talk about white guilt, not slavery. That shit happened a long time. This is it. This is it. It's so fucking weird, man. Guilt over the sins of the past? Yeah, this is what I have white guilt over. Holy fuck. A bunch of white people going to restaurants and harassing minority ESL service workers for not using the right gender. Holy fuck, how obnoxious.
Women to have to share this space with people who are obviously biological men.
Oh, I go where I please. I will continue to go into women's restrooms, women's locker rooms, women's spaces, because I am a woman, whether you like it or not, and there's nothing you can do about it. I go where I please. And so far, nobody's had the guts to even try and stop me.
No one has tried to...
So, you're saying that they're intimidated by you and this is a good thing? Like, what's the logic here? They don't have the guts to try and stop me. So they would, but they're afraid. Okay, so you're going into women's bathrooms and making women afraid, and this is somehow good?
Stop you because it's a bunch of women who have like half your strength, and they don't want to risk you being a psycho who will violently beat them if they speak up about you using the women's bathroom.
Exactly.
You're gonna give me my fucking money back.
Excuse me, sir. There's a young man in here. And you
I told her. Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
They aren't protesting because they're afraid.
What is that, a GameStop crash out? Yeah, this is actually a crash out at a GameStop. Holy fuck. I never saw this.
They aren't protesting because they're afraid. And what really should happen is that people should just stop going to places with mixed bathrooms.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of borderline predator behavior, Tino loves to go to Disneyland to explain how transgender surgery works with kids in the background and child-friendly metaphors.
Last summer, I got my cake pops removed, and the plan up until recently was to get my marshmallow wand reconfigured into a marshmallow tunnel. The outside of the wand is what becomes the inside of...
This is so bad, bro. This is so bad. Like, why do you do this? I just, like, I don't know why people do this shit. Like, it's... I wonder if they, I genuinely wonder if they understand how much damage they're doing and they don't care. Or they're just doing it because they're that full of themselves. I'm really curious, actually.
The tunnel.
This person needs to be put on a watch list. I think no one would be shocked if there are some skeletons in Tino's closet. These topics aren't appropriate for young kids.
See, like, I've never been the kind of person, and I don't like the language that people that are trans, and I don't play into the language that people that are trans are like a higher probability of having any sort of like sexual issues or whatever. I've never played into that, and I never will, because I think it's a stereotype and it's a demographic, and each person should be treated equally, right? And they shouldn't be like, you shouldn't be given the original sin by the nature of your identification or a group that you belong to and then be assigned guilt because of that. I don't think that's fair. But at the same time, like going to Disneyland and while there are children present, explaining in metaphors like cock and balls surgery, this is very... this is lewd behavior. It's lewd and inappropriate behavior. Really, like, that's really all there. Yeah, it's weird.
Hi, friends. Today we're going to talk about something super important. What it means to be transgender. It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy to understand. Ready to learn? The first thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Now think, do you feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both?
For those of you who don't know what's going on, this is
Baby Learning with Miss Rachel. Baby songs, speech, and sign language for babies. Toddler learning videos. Oh, no.
Of Miss Rachel, who is a very popular creator for very young kids. A friend of mine has a 2-year-old, and I caught an episode while he was visiting where she was teaching toddlers how to say no, so that was great. Well, maybe it's annoying to parents, but probably very useful if they ever meet someone like Lily Tino. And I'm not just making allegations here. Tino literally has an OnlyFans account and advertises that account.
Oh, man. This is just so... Bro, this is so weird. This is so weird. Are you sure you don't want to rethink the previous statement? No, I'm not going to rethink it because I know multiple trans people that don't do this weird fucking creepy bullshit. They're not predators. They don't act like this at all. And I don't think it's fair to lump them up with this fucking weirdo. This self-absorbed, narcissistic, attention-starved, obnoxious, abusive fucking weirdo. Absolutely not. But and the problem is that my perspective on this is the minority perspective. I realize that the way that I see this is not the way that most people see this. And when average people see this, it makes them hate trans people. That's what I think is so sad about it.
In the same area where the video is
Massive
targeted at
splash
children
damage?
can be
Yeah.
viewed. How is this not a crime? Can you see why people are mad now? Stuff like this happens over and over again, and this information gets pushed on younger and younger people way before it's age appropriate.
Yep.
And now they have stuff like this.
And this is the issue too, right? Is because like a young kid, if they imagine themselves as a girl or a boy, you're effectively grooming them because a kid hasn't even fully defined their own identity to begin with. And there's like girls that like boy things and boys that like girl things, but that doesn't mean that they're transsexual. Like I used to have like doll sets and stuff like that as a kid, like for sure. And like this is like have like a little house where I would like set up a little house and do stuff. And yes, I would usually have like my mom said I would just have like dinosaurs come in and kill everybody in the house. But I mean, like you could say that at least half of that's like a girly activity for sure. And yeah, that was just what I used to do, right? And it doesn't make me a girl or whatever. I mean, it's just so weird that people look at this. And I think this is the problem and the damage that it does to kids is that there's such a, like, these are the people that are constantly preaching that there's a spectrum for sexuality. But the moment that a person has anything that's not congruent with what the normative things that their gender are supposed to do, these people immediately default to telling them that they're transsexual. Well, that's not true at all. There's a lot of different variations of that. Like, so maybe you're not transsexual. Maybe you're just a guy that really likes makeup. Like James Charles or something like that, or Jeffree Star. What's wrong with that? That's fine.
Open for Brave Trails 2025. Whether you're new or returning, get ready for an unforgettable summer in California,
JD
New
Vance,
York, or
yep.
Georgia. Brave Trails is the summer camp for LGBTQ plus youth ages 12 to 17. With creative programming, gender-neutral housing, and affirming spaces to be your true.
Gender-neutral housing for 12-year-olds? Huh. (12 to 17). Yeah, this stuff is really bad. Yeah, I mean, it's a grooming camp. I've seen this before. And I wouldn't really go that far to say it, but it seems that way. It certainly seems that way. Sounds problematic? It sure does.
So, wait, so you're going to put a bunch of boys and girls with cameras and mixed housing? They're going to change and sleep in the same area with an age difference from 12 to 17? You don't see a problem with that? Unfortunately,
Like, I mean, everybody sees this as being bad. Yeah, this is sick.
Don't think they do. And what's funny is that I'm old enough to remember that back in 2020, I made a video about them medically transitioning kids, and I got gaslit like crazy with a bunch of wokies in the comments saying, no, they're just socially transitioning kids. They don't get medical treatment until they're adults. At that point...
Well, okay, so if the logic is that... Okay, let me get this straight. So if medical intervention is not happening to kids, then why are you getting mad about there being rules against medical intervention for kids? Because by your own definition, it's not happening. So like, for example, if the government made a law against riding unicorns, this wouldn't really bother me because unicorns aren't real. I mean, am I like I don't understand how do people not come to these same conclusions? And by the way, I think this is the reason why people nowadays have had such a regression of critical thought. And the reason why is because basically, very, very fucking simply, these people you can't think for yourself in these situations because the conclusions that you come through by using simple logic and deduction will lead you to being branded as a terrible person.
And there were only a handful
People
of
are
news stories
afraid
about
to
people
critically
medically
think.
transitioning under 18. But just 5 years later, medically transitioning kids has been completely normalized.
Estrogen treatment is irreversible and would make Josie sterile. But Josie and her mother never doubted it was the right thing until an unexpected conversation happened one afternoon.
But on the inside, where nobody else can see,
Yeah.
are you a boy or are you a girl?
Maybe I'm a boy inside and a girl outside.
Really?
Yeah, is that true?
Only.
So you might not understand why this is happening, and you might not get it, but I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit of it, just so you guys can see it. So manchasm by proxy is when women generally, or a parent decides that their kid, a caretaker, fabricates or induces an illness in a child, is disproportionately committed by women. Studies show that over 90% of perpetrators are female, with mothers being the most common. And once you understand what this mental problem is, this happening makes perfect sense. Everything about that is the missing puzzle piece that puts all of this together, in my opinion.
You know the answer to that.
Sometimes I think I'm a boy, sort of, but I want to be a girl.
Yeah.
Dr. Olson had a decision.
You are in the perfect place to start on blockers.
And she promises to begin giving her estrogen, female hormones, in 2 years.
Around 13.
Wow. Wow. This type of thing only happens because these kids have no father figure around to ground them in common sense. Well, the funny thing is that the last time they had a father figure around that tried to ground them in common sense, the woman had that father figure's ability to access his children taken away from him because she moved to California where this kind of stuff was legal and he wasn't able to go there. The doctors need to be held accountable. I think so too. I do.
That's what I think. You're not going to wait until 16 to start. You know that, okay?
A lot of times it strikes me that had this happened just 20 years ago,
Thank you.
I wouldn't have been able to give her blockers and she would have had to go through male puberty. That terrifies me. It's all done. Do you want a hug? I don't know that she would have survived male puberty.
I'm not really sure how these people have it in their head that it's okay to allow a young child to make a permanent decision.
It's all white people. I've actually thought about writing something out for why I think this is happening and why this is so prevalent in white people. Because I think nobody's talking about this. Like, nobody. I think the reason why is people are afraid to talk about this. They're afraid to say like why I think it is. Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, no, think about it. Think about what? Think about like again. There's patterns. The Roach King's Manifesto. Yes. Like I've wanted to start writing and doing like if I was no longer able to stream, I would just start writing. Like if that's what I would do. That's what I used to do.
Like that, especially considering that the child expressed pretty heavy doubt, and maybe that's the best cue to not put your kid on life-altering medications when they turn 13.
Seems more like we're experimenting on children like the Nazis did, though.
It does seem a little suspect. I agree.
I mean, imagine if the Nazi scientist came forward and said, but the kids really want it.
The one thing that keeps me happy is that we're moving closer to a place where eventually people who do this are going to start getting punished for it. Especially,
I think they should be. And I think they should be retroactively punished for it, too. I find this to be just like absolutely disgusting behavior, and I don't know why people are putting up with it. I think that they believe they're doing a good thing, but I don't think that anything could be worse than this, in fact. Could you give some examples of the writing? Yeah, I used to write twit longers kind of regularly about different things that I would have opinions on. Like just like the state of Warcraft, or about video games, or about like I did one about New World, right? And like I used to do this a lot more. And then like whenever I was a kid, like I was like, you guys might not know this, but like both of my parents, like my dad's written multiple novels as well. You know, he worked in publishing. He was a publishing executive. My mom was also a writer as well. And so like I grew up doing this a lot. And so yeah, no, that's it. So I even like as a little kid, I would do this.
Since Twitter got bought, and stories like these aren't being suppressed anymore.
I had facial feminization surgery. I had sex reassignment surgery. I was on HRT for 17 years. Now I'm on a combo dose because I can't go off. I have multiple health conditions from transitioning young and for transitioning for so long.
This person has to take medication permanently despite regretting the transition because of the damage that transitioning caused. And it's sick because the activist community loves to pretend that none of these drugs like hormone blockers have any side effects.
So what was it for you that kind of woke you up to this isn't what I should have done?
I found out that homosexual transition was environmentally caused in almost every single case by childhood sexual assault or by internalized homophobia or failed boy syndrome. People are being lied to when they're being diagnosed. They're not being diagnosed with what actually causes the gender dysphoria. They're just being diagnosed with a symptom of a problem. And there are multiple problems that cause those symptoms.
I think this is another really big like paradigm shift that a lot of people need to have, is that, and I think this is especially a shift that needs to happen in the language that people that are critical of like, you know, like the person at the beginning of this video have. I think that there needs to be a shift towards much more of a form of, let me think a good way to say it, of compassionate language and of trying to help these people. Because I think that there's a lot of times where like everybody just sits around and makes fun of them, and it's like, oh, this person looks like a man. It's obvious that you're a man. But I think the truth is that a lot of the people that are like struggling with gender dysphoria, like if you take a step back, have you guys ever had a time where, I guess a lot of us are probably like old enough now, where like you've looked in the mirror and you didn't like the way that you were aging and it made you very uncomfortable and really stressed out? Have you guys ever had something like that happen? Yeah, right? Oh, okay, so like imagine like that's what happens for these people all the time, every day, for their whole life, about everything. So like I think that we need to shift the language around for being critical of like some of these like extremes to being more compassionate for the people that are suffering from these problems. Because I feel like there's so much negativity and hostility that's going around. And I think it caricaturizes the perspectives that I think I have and a lot of other people have as like being mean-spirited and cruel, when the reality is the opposite. I think the fact is that we do have, in my mind, the morally good perspective. And I think that we should start acting like it. And I think that the way you act like it is you don't bully people. You just are genuine and honest, and you try to help them. And you help them in a way that doesn't make you feel better, it makes them feel better. Because I feel like a lot of the enabling for this movement, it's not about making the kid feel better, it's about making the mom feel better. And I find that to just be so disgusting and selfish.
And when you don't appropriately diagnose people, you lead them into a life of ruin. All of these interventions are permanent, they're irreversible, and they lied to me.
I don't know if the numbers are that high, but sexual abuse history sure is commonly reported amongst people who transition.
That's true.
As well as symptoms of it, like drug abuse and homelessness. Now,
Yes.
the age-old thing that the activists like to say is that you could end the life of a trans person by misgendering them. However, if you look at the studies that they cite, the people in the high-risk categories are very often drug abusers or homeless, and HRT is not going to fix that.
And they don't care about the people who are indoctrinated.
I think there's probably a big confluence of reasons why people who are transsexual kill themselves. I think that there is a percentage of it is actually the way that society perceives them and how they're treated in society. And I think that definitely there are people that if they were more accepted in society and they were treated better, the probability of killing themselves would be lower. Really, I mean, I think that's true. And like that doesn't mean that it's somehow like our fault or anything like that, and you should never criticize anything about this. But I think that it's important to acknowledge that obvious reality. That whenever you are constantly misgendered, whenever people do constantly make fun of you for the way you look, whenever they do constantly try to invalidate your identity, this is an agitating factor that is damaging for a person's mental health. I think that you could easily say that, but you're right. There are, like, what he's saying is also true too, is that there are a lot of other, like conflicting factors.
Who are harmed by this loosey-goosey system where you can walk into a therapist in 15 minutes and be given a gender dysphoria diagnosis.
Yep. Right. They don't care at all. I think when Lily Tino makes a video dressed as Miss Rachel, that's not about educating people.
What's this here? They're protected? They spend their whole life talking about the subject? They're protected? Don't need to walk on eggshells around everyone? I don't think that walking on eggshells, like, I'm not asking you to walk on eggshells around anyone, and I'm not saying that that's what you should do. But I think that, like, I mean, I don't know why, like, why is this even a point of contention? Shouldn't this just be obvious what I'm saying? I feel like this is very obvious that, like, in a society where people act this way, yeah, I mean, like, I'm not blaming anything. I'm just, I think that people are very afraid to acknowledge any truth in a position that they don't hold, when oftentimes the truth actually is in the middle. And I think this is one of those circumstances.
Not trying to find the next viral trend to build popularity and promote the OnlyFans account. I think these people rarely, if ever, talk about people who regret transitioning. In fact, I've heard rumors that on Reddit, such people are shunned from the transgender forums.
Yeah,
but the
surprise.
nefarious part with kids is that kids are easily manipulated, will often do what they think will impress their parents, and they have no life experience. They've only been around for a few years, so how are they supposed to know at 11 what their desires are going to be at 30 or 40 or 50? Where are the adults? Adults
How can you know that you don't identify as a man if you've only been a boy? Really? I mean, like, because I think that, like, for example, I never really, this might sound weird, but I never really even thought about, like, whether I was a girl or a boy growing up. It just didn't really matter. I don't know. It just never really mattered. Like, I never really thought about this. But, like, I mean, it's just, or a dinosaur. Yeah, I just, like, I don't know. I just did whatever the fuck I wanted, right? And, like, there were some things that, like, I mean, because, like, really, I mean, especially, like, in high school, right? You guys have seen photos of me. You know, I was just a skinny, like, skinny kid with long hair. Like, in some photos, I look a bit like a femboy. Definitely, right? Now, this was a long time ago. Now I don't, because I'm 34. But, at like 16 or 17, maybe a bit more. And the fact is that, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's not weird or bad or anything. And so it's very weird for me to see, like, it's a one size fits all, and it's the most extreme size.
Supposed to be around as advisors to prevent kids from doing stuff they might regret in the long term. In fact, as a society, I think it's people's responsibility to prevent those around them from making stupid decisions. A lot of people's dumb choices could be stopped if they didn't have a shitty friend group. You want people in your life who will sit you down.
It's a shitty friend group is a really good way to say it, because people are it's more important for them to enable feeling good about telling somebody something than telling them the truth about it. And I think this is one big issue that, like, you know, for example, you know, it's the, you know, a girl goes to her friend, you know, Michelle, am I fat? No, you're not fat. You're beautiful. And she's 400 pounds. And, like, you know, a guy goes to his guy friend. Is like, am I fat? It's like, I know 5 fat people and you're 4 of them. You know, it's like, that's where it is, right? The truth hurts. And so it's just the honesty and the directness, I think, is what's healthy and useful to people, right? And exactly, no, I'm being serious. Like, this is what... Because, like, there's a level of bluntness and crudeness that is sometimes counterproductive, but not really. Being honest is the most important thing.
And talk you through major decisions and give you corrective feedback. People need the feedback of others to know how to behave appropriately. It's something that I'm sure these narcissistic activists are missing in their lives. So let's do them all the favor of not appeasing their BS.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.
I had no idea this video was going to be this based. This was insane. Holy shit. Wow. Jesus. Well, there it is. Yeah, extremely fucking based. Massively fucking based. Unequivocally, insanely, like, definitely fucking based. There it is. There's the video. Make sure to give this guy a like. Think before you sleep. I've never watched one of his videos before. I've never heard of his content before. And I'm glad I did. I totally agree with a lot of these perspectives that he's giving, and I think that he's really right about a lot of the stuff that he's saying here. Absolutely. And yeah, that's it. And I think very super based. Yeah, he really cooked with this. This was a really, really great video. I'll link it. He almost has 1 million subscribers too. And yeah, there it is. Hear me out though. Let me listen to what this person's saying. Shouldn't it be obvious that the LGBT has been completely missed out of the video, and for good reasons? It's unironically the entire answer to the video's title. Well, yeah, I think you bring up a really great point, is that the question, why is the LGBT movement failing? And the entire video is about a handful of narcissistic trans activist streamers. I think that's a very revealing reality. Like, that is I mean, because I'm just being honest, right? I mean, there it is. It's just that fucking simple. So yeah, I find it to be very problematic and extremely frustrating to see this happen, especially with people that are so outspoken and so aggressive about this. And yeah, let's see here. And I don't often get to watch a live. This is funny. I instinctively tried to watch the next video. Yeah. Check out Liberal Hive Mind. I haven't sure. Yeah, I think he messaged me the other day. I never got back to him. There's been a lot of people messaging me. I haven't got back to him. But yeah. And I don't know, some of the plus size have ruined the movement as well. Yeah, but that's like a separate thing. Anyway, so why are they so concerned about being identified as correct gender but never ask the person serving for them correct pronouns? That's true. And there it is. Yeah, these people are professional victims and they're going around looking to create trouble. And so, yeah, it's a lot of solid videos. Yeah, I'll have to maybe watch that at some point. But yeah, I really, really agree with pretty much everything he was saying in this video. I do. I'm very, very happy about this, and I hope that it continues. And yeah, more people talking about this in an honest and a direct way, I think is something that is very, 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 like, very needed. I'll say that for sure.